Hi friends, welcome to Crafting and Relaxing. Today is a big day. If you've been following along with me, the room is painted, the cabinets went out, they came back. Mr. Crafting and Relaxing has been hauling stuff back in all day. And my friend Eileen from Seasons of Life Organizing is here to help me with this. Now let me tell you, Mr. Crafting and Relaxing hauled this stuff in this morning, and I looked at it and I thought, I think I'd rather go to work. So I know some of you are excited to do stuff like this. This for me is a lot. And I think if Eileen wasn't here to help me with this, I would be overwhelmed and I probably would have gotten in the car, changed my clothes, gotten in the car and gone to work. Stick with me. You'll get to see on my channel how this progresses, and then you'll get to see on Eileen's channel how her side of it comes together, and we'll link in the description box down below so you can find her channel. This is my friend Eileen, and she said she would help me. So we'll see. It is 11:15 in the morning. We have nowhere to be. Follow along with us and let's see how it goes. My hopes for today are that this whole table is cleared off. Mr. Crafting and Relaxing might put a few more things on the walls, and then we'll have some stuff that I probably still have to go through. I'm not looking to do crafts tonight. I think I'll be worn out, but that's my goal for today. We'll see how it goes. Eileen's already asked me if I've sorted all of this stuff or if there's more to get rid of. So I think she might have some space concerns. All right. Okay, we'll let you know how it goes.
As you watch this video, you're going to realize Eileen did most of the work. She really did. I moved that because it was chalk paint, and I don't know how chalk paint works with painter's tape. So she's asking me about zones and how do I want the room and how should things go. And I really was excited to have zones because maybe once I thought it was going to be that way, but then it didn't turn out that way. So we set it up with journaling all along the left. And it was really good because a couple of times Eileen has watched my channel. She is my friend. She knows that I am in the world of Clutterbug, a butterfly. So when I said, what if we sorted into micro categories, she would just chuckle and say, are you sure you want to do that? And then I knew I didn't because I wouldn't keep that up. I mean, I wouldn't mind her doing it the first day, but I'm not going to live like that. So what we're doing is we're going through all my piles and I'm trying to figure out what I would consider journaling because I don't label things like that and I didn't pack like that. I just packed things into spaces where they fit. So for Eileen to get an idea of how to organize and arrange things, she needed an idea of what would go in that corner. And my bins were like this one on the end was some mailing stuff, some journal paper, some random stuff that fit in there. Some of the iris cases are journaling, some aren't. So just really helping her figure out what would go there. And as the room evolved, we figured out more and more categories. So that was great. This was a reality check for me. I think there needs to be a bit more exercising before crafting and relaxing starts in the day. Definitely. So all that stuff that I'm piling up on the counter, I'm saying, here you go, Eileen. Here's all my journaling stuff. Journaling was also a great category to start with because it is the biggest space category. If you're not a journal maker, a junk journaler, an art journaler, or anything like that, and you're solely a card maker, you may have less stuff. I don't know. You might be like my friend Noni and not have less stuff, but junk journaling is a slippery slope. And when I cleaned out my room, I recycled and threw away a ton of stuff. So now Eileen's trying to figure out the bins. When I packed up, she coached me on aggressive decluttering and thinning, but we had never talked zones, right? She said that's more for assembly, so that's okay. So now we, at this point, are thinking, okay, this is going to be the journaling corner, and then the other side is card making, and then they'll come together. The shelves you can arrange a bunch of different ways. I got that off of Facebook. That was a adventure one morning when I asked Mr. Crafting and Relaxing if he'd like to drive me to the boonies. And so we went and picked that up. And it is super handy. The shelves are adjustable. You can double them up so they can handle the weight. And I probably don't need one that big because it just helps me stash more junk. But I love it. So she's really looking at how will things go? How will things be accessible? And in a later video, you're going to see that I have a big chipboard piece over that hole that the cats have been using for years. And I now have child locks on there. So I don't know if there's going to be a cupboard of shame or not, but it won't be slept in by cats. And she's just packing and repacking as I give her more stuff and try and figure it out, and finding all my art journals and my things I'm going to make journal covers out of someday. All my someday items. That's what that big roll is, journal cover stuff. And she's also trying to figure out the other zones as we go. And it was hard for me because I asked a couple times, can I just start putting things back that I think I know where they go? And she was like, no. And she was right, because I would have filled the drawers, and the 2 drawers right there turned out differently. And it's very cool. So I think there was a lot of learning for me in this. And I would have instinctively shoved it back together the way that it was, which was not a good way. When I put this room together, first of all, I got the cabinets for free from my friends. If you haven't seen the evolution of my craft room, it was not like a purchased, thousands of dollars spree at all. And I didn't know these cabinets were coming, and I hadn't planned. And so I just did what I do. I just shoved it all in. As I was unpacking, I was shocked at how much stuff I found grouped exactly the way I had brought it home from estate sales or girls' weekends or whatever. I do not group like items nearly as well as I thought, except for embroidery floss. It was all in the same tub, and Eileen was quite impressed by it, I think. So I think right now I'm talking to Noni. During the day, we had company. Noni came and visited us for a while. She thought it was great. Then Katie came later. So I think they may be pictured in this video at some point if they approve it. And it is just like, I'm like, what do I do with this? And what do I do with this? And trying to figure it out. And Eileen just powerhouses through the whole thing. What she's trying to figure out is that cupboard down below has a half shelf in the back, which is sometimes good and sometimes bad. It makes it so that you can't put large items in it. And my bins don't fit exactly. I mean, my bins were never measured and purchased and bought with something in mind. They were what Costco had that day or what. There's Noni. She came to supervise us. Now she's going to sit back down. She was having a really busy time. It was a nice little break for her to come over and watch Eileen work. Okay, now Eileen has opened up a bin that I honestly had no intention of opening or sorting. It was called journal binding or sewing journals together, and what it became was all sorts of stuff that I crammed in there that did relate to journals, but a lot of it was earlier in the phase, like designing the cover, so it was never going to get used because it was in there too late and I would find it later. And then once upon a time, things were sorted by color in the embroidery floss. And then Eileen asked if she could fix it. And I was like, sure, I don't care. And in some cases, she's like right now she's putting them in a container. I'm blocking your view. And then I think she's going to change her mind, because sometimes when you figure out how much of something you have or what it gets grouped with functionally for the actual person, it doesn't necessarily make sense. And I love to have lids on my bins because of my lovely girls that help me with everything, and because I like to stack things. I'm a stacker. Look, it's all pretty now. She put them all in color order, and one of the bags was like a huge recycled sloppy bag, and she was like, do you have a smaller bag? Well, of course I do. I have a million bags. But yeah, she did all this kind of stuff. It was amazing. If you maybe don't love to organize and you have a mess like this, you should definitely have Eileen help you. I don't know if you're in the Pacific Northwest, but I think she's going to do some remote consultations and supports through her business too. I'm not sure if her website's set up for that yet. She, just in text messages and checking on me now and then, figured out how to support me and direct me, and I didn't give up. Okay, now she's labeling them because she's changed the boxes a little and she's trying to help, right? Now, once the printer's trays, those were a given, right? Wood stamp blocks or woodblock stamps were always going to go on those. Those miscellaneous things on the counter, those were like charms and stuff that she found in my sew it together bin, but I never look in there for them. Dana White is one of the legendary, in that clutterbug circle, and she talks about put things where you'll use them. Okay, the girls, that racket in the background, the girls are playing with something on the floor. I will not look for charms in the binding. Like, that's not the phase that I would look for them, so I never use them out of there. She is using tape on the bins. She, of course, would make pretty labels, but then I would make fun of her. Noni offered as her label maker, and Eileen had brought one. If you want all your bins perfectly labeled, I am certain Eileen would do that for you, but that's not how I roll. Okay, Mr. Crafting and Relaxing came back. We had some items that were heavier. Remember, these are paneled walls, so you can't put a thumbtack in them without breaking it. They are very tricky. And what I have found is those, what do we call them? Those 3M plastic things that you put on your wall and then you pull the sticky thing and they come undone. Very scientific. They gave out. Now, I have lived in this house like 10 years, and some of those could have been up there for a long time, but they started falling off the walls at a certain point. So I'm really worried about putting heavy things on them now. This paneling, it's different. So we're really careful about putting screws through it so that things don't fall down. And it's like nearly impossible to just grab a hammer and tap a little tiny nail in it like you would for other things. But it is virtually indestructible. Wilson once picked up a giant dog toy and slammed it into the wall. Didn't leave a dent. Drywall would have had a dent. He was trying to get the food out. Food toys were not his thing. Okay, my little blue shelves are going back up. If you recall from the origination of this shelf, it was going to be one long shelf. And turns out my wall is so crooked that didn't really look good. So I have two little blue shelves, and actually I love it because they're very handy. And had it been like 3 or 5 feet long, it would have been, or 4 or 5 feet long, it would have been too long. Eileen's making me clean the stamps. I know, it's crazy, but she didn't want to just shove dirty stamps back in the drawer, which is exactly how I would have done it. So we're cleaning stamps. Mr. Crafting and Relaxing is putting the things back up. I changed some things. So he just put the hook up where I put my scissors and all my basic stuff. And then I had this brilliant idea to put the stamps all on one wall, which I love. That had traditionally been off to the right. That printer's tray is deeper, so it holds different brands that are like 1.5 inches or so deep, and it holds a lot of tiny stamps. So I thought, we'll put it here. I like it. However, before you decide where to put all your things, hang the stuff, because had I hung my giant, I think they're like made in Italy scissors that my mom gave me, I would not have put that there because they don't work to hang on that white hook anymore. That's okay. I put them in the drawer, which is probably better because when they fall, they get damaged, and they have fallen before. So I'm trying that, but I think I'm going to keep it there, and it needs another nail or something because I had to put a woodblock stamp under it to straighten it. But I'm still figuring that out a little bit, that wall. It's part of the zones. If you have all of your card making and stamping stuff together, it's not so spread out. And I think I want the other counter to be like home office-y sometimes and mixed media. I know I said that like a year ago, but I'm really feeling it this time. It's going to happen. As I clear out more and more pre-purchased materials, I'll get back to making my own. I stopped for a snack. She was still going strong, and I was like, yeah, I need a snack. We worked until I was like, hey, can we eat lunch? She was a powerhouse. I have to tell you, I would have been, if it was me alone, I would have been sitting in that brown chair, drinking coffee, just staring at it all. Waiting for a magic fairy like Eileen to show up. And then it happened. Eileen is building her business. So at this point, her availability is still pretty good. I don't know if it will always be like that, but, get in her schedule, get booked for a consultation, whatever. Because mad skills, I tell you, mad skills. Hi friends, we are back and it is about the 2-hour mark. And you could see all these boxes are empty and that box we brought in was go away. The washer and dryer are to be determined, except that's Eileen's bag. We're keeping that. And Zeus is partied out. He's had a hard time. I don't know what the chair is exactly. I was working on some stuff and got sidetracked. The zones that are coming together are journaling, and then we're getting the stamps put on the wall. And this counter has gotten fairly empty. Some stuff is still down there. And then we have a pile of stuff here that's like stamps and punches and stuff. This is just organizer stuff. So we're doing pretty well getting things put away. But you can see down here, we still have some more stuff. And Eileen hasn't let me just shove anything in a cupboard. We have to think about it and look at it and have zones. And look, we're not going to call it the cupboard of shame anymore. I forgot to tell Mr. Crafting and Relaxing, but I think we're going to cover up the drawer so that we can use it and keep things in it and they'll be safe. And as I look in there, I'm like, we're missing a category. We're missing some items because where are those big fancy scrapbooks that I probably should have told her about? We'll find those. Okay. But it looks pretty good, doesn't it? It's coming together. This is a reality check for me, you guys. You know, we've seen this bin. This bin still haunts me. That bin, all of these are journal pages. We've got more paper, more paper. We've got tons of paper right there. What it tells me is maybe don't bring home so much paper for a while. Junk paper. You have plenty of it. So we'll work on it. And I will figure out where the vintage scrapbooks are. Anything to add, my friend?
No, you've done a great job.
All right. I'm doing a great job. She's doing a lot of work.
It's all good.
I am doing a lot of tidying around her. You know it's true that she's doing a lot of work because you're watching the video and she's making the magic happen. She asked me about putting the stamps away. I had traditionally had the stamps grouped. On the right was PSX. I'm a huge fan of Personal Stamp Exchange, PSX, and I kept a lot of them together on the right. She rearranged things and made them spatially cute and kept a lot of similar items together, and I was totally fine with the logic of that. I warned her that I wasn't going to keep it that way. She's getting glitter and random things out of a drawer for me, cleaning it up before we put it back together. That was one thing. I could have done some actual cleaning if I hadn't been in a hurry when I took everything apart. But part of it was by the time I got down to it, I was excited and I came home and Mr. Crafting and Relaxing had moved everything. Which is okay because they were in the shop for a while, so they probably would have gotten dusty anyway. We're working on loose ends and digging through and still finding stuff. And you find more stuff for your zones as you go. And definitely be sure you bring everything into the room before you get too far along. Because I kept finding different things and that was a bit tricky for her. But we worked through it. It is amazing how the layers and layers come together. So the bin that's still sitting on the table with the page protector or sheet protector type things, it's cardstock. It is likely to go in the card making section. But again, she was kind of supervising me. I had to ask questions before I started shoving stuff away. But then after a while, she said, okay, you can put card-related items in that cupboard. I found this little pile in my closet. When I cleaned out my craft room, I stashed stuff in my bedroom closet, and it was all on the floor, except these items were on a shelf. And I forgot them. So now I have not provided the items in the proper sequence, but I'm sure that Eileen will just work right through it.
That's the goal.
Isn't it fun how she has such a great attitude about it? And I did keep throwing stuff away during the day. She was right. And some stuff I would pull out and I would say, this has to go. That's what I'm doing with the stamps right here. I said, don't need these. Got rid of some more. She was really looking at like how my stamps and punches were stored and maybe not the best way. I forgot to change the camera angle a little bit for you in here, sorry. But you can see how things are starting to come together. And the wall is so much cuter the way she put it together than the way I did it. Look how she arranged the little birds together, Kathy. I love those bird stamps. Kathy gave me a set of 4 of them years ago, and I love them. Now, these bins are kind of still haunting me, so pay attention to the stuff that remains on the counter, because at the end, there's still homework. Okay, look, isn't it amazing? I think it's really awesome. Once we got that table out of there, it made a big difference. I think what happened was my phone died, and so I was charging my phone for a long time. Didn't mean to leave you out, just my phone had nothing left to give for the day. I should have plugged it in to charge it when we went to lunch, but I didn't think of it. Okay, so I have my chair for coffee in the morning, and it's at a better angle than it used to be. Oh, there's Katie. She's hanging out supervising us. She's going to stack up those rocks so they can fall down during a video. It looks pretty good, doesn't it? There are some issues. I found my sewing and thread in that red lid bin, so I need to figure out how that's going to go, because it never occurred to me to make a sewing station. She asked me about it, but I answered wrong.
All right, friends, it is afternoon now, same day. Eileen said this took less than 5 hours. I think we stopped for lunch, though. I don't know that counts that. And I am exhausted. I never would have made it this far without Eileen's help. There are some things she's labeled for me that say to go through, because I didn't aggressively purge everything when I put it together, and some things need to. There are still empty spots. Space, empty drawer. There is space in this room. It is amazing. There's also a pile of empty containers over here. The table's put away. Everything is good. Much better. I get to relax for the evening. If you want to do something amazing like this, be sure to have Eileen help you, because without her guidance in the beginning and along the way, and encouragement, and also her help putting the room back together and figuring out the zones today, there's no way this would be done today. Thanks so much for watching. Be sure to check out her video in the description down below, and take great care of yourselves. Bye-bye.